David, thank you for being here with us today. And we'll go through the slides and you can start off.
All righty. Well, welcome everybody. Just a little bit about me. I started out in the benefits business in the early 90s, and so I'd worked exclusively in the small group market for some time. And then when Obamacare came around, an interesting thing happened, which was unfortunate, and that was that essentially the rates for small groups uh, pretty close to doubled. And then, so that pretty much put the kibosh on a lot of small group employers that wanted to offer benefits but couldn't. Um, the caveat that came into play was that the sorry, I have a dog I have to deal with. I'll be right back. Okay, um, so essentially, what we're going to do is go through this and kind of reformat how we're going to do benefits for smaller groups because as a small group, you can do everything that a big group can do. You just have to change the way that you do it. And so I guess we can go to the next slide. Are you working those, McKenna? Fabby. Um, First of all, we're here to we want to dispel the myth that smaller employers are unable to offer good benefits and pay employees well. The fact of the matter is that if you pay directionless employees and you offer benefits, it is going to be expensive, especially if you're not offering the benefits with a strategic idea in mind. So to be competitive, obviously one thing that we want to have is a competitive workforce. And in order to do that, as an employer, there are three things that we have to do for our employees. Number one, we got to provide a predictable workplace. It can't be crazy all the time. People don't like that. Number two, we want to provide motivational factors. And number three, if we can, we want to bring out what's called the X factor. And that's what this is really about. Next slide, please. Um, if we go through this and you decide you want to do it, what's going to happen is that we're essentially going to be turning our employee benefits on our head on their head, and the reason is because we're going to go about putting the benefits in place in a different order than most people would have you do it. Um, and because of that, your employees are going to be more productive. They're going to be happier. Um, they will help you improve your business operations. And they're also going to increase your profit margins because there's going to be less do-overs, less wrong things that go wrong. And employees that are happier tend to do a better job. Next slide, please. The next question is, well, how fast is it going to work and what's it going to cost me? And the answer is, if you do these things right away, they'll happen right away. And rather than talk about, oh, talk with me and I'll tell you what our mysterious budget is going to be and how much it's going to cost you, I'll tell you on average that for most of our benefits groups, and these can be groups of either 3 to 20 or 30 people, our average employee cost per benefit for all of our benefits that we offer is somewhere between $60 and $90 a month. And we'll go over what the benefits that are being offered, and then we're going to go over some of the other benefits. So that's essentially what is going to be your cost. So for those who have been sitting on the sidelines going, I don't want to do employee benefits because it's going to cost me $500 a month per person, not necessarily. Which brings us to the next slide, which is, well, shoot, why not just pay my employees more? It is true, cash is king, and it is the best motivator for employees. However, lousy employees will take a good pay just as well as good employees do too, and cash is the most expensive way to find good employees if you find them. The other problem with cash is that you can't compete with corporate America. They can raise their prices and they will raise your prices. You, as a small competitor out there, may not have that kind of option. So once your $5 an hour gets higher or the wage base goes up, you've lost your advantage. Next slide. Okay, slide number 6. Uh-oh. McKenna, are you there?
I'm sorry, it's showing on mine. Did it not move on your
Ah,
screen?
there it is.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. All right. So now we're going to talk about the added edge. This is basically what differentiates really good employees from not so really good employees, and that's what's called intrinsic motivation. These are the people that that are just generally upbeat. They're always interested in something, almost always driven by curiosity. These are ideally the people you want to be able to to bring on board. Um, and what most corporate America focuses on is doing what's called extrinsic, which means we're going to throw all this stuff at you, and if you like it, that's great. And this is what we do, and we pay a lot of money, so you have to put up with all of our stuff. Well, we don't want to make our employees put up with stuff, so we make it easier for them to do business, and then we can bring out what's called intrinsic motivation, which is how do you do your job better? Okay, can we go to the next slide? All right. So extrinsic motivation is what you can do. Decent environment, decent wages, reasonable management, stability, order, continuity, no craziness. Intrinsic motivation, the next slide, please, is the game changer. And that's the one that this is what comes out of your employees when they get fired up a little bit. And so as an employer, you ideally want to get them to be more involved in the success of not only themselves, but bringing the company along with them. I'm going to go to the next slide, and I have a study to back this up, and this is not a real big slide, so my apologies. But basically, what you're looking at is, and we'll have a copy of this available. Basically, what you'll find is that you have a copy of your employee, your motivational factors. And if you look down here, these are the things that don't really have a whole lot to do with employee productivity. One of them is education, the other is experience. So just because you may not have the sharpest pencil in the box does not mean that you may not have a really good employee. So it does make a difference, but motivation makes that difference. Next one. So what we want is them both. Fabulous. So how do we do that? Well, let's look at the cost of benefits high to low. Obviously, you can see that I'm not real good at PowerPoint presentations because none of these things have lined up. But anyway, the number one cost is compensation. So obviously, the higher you can pay your employees, in theory, the better you will get, the better employees you will get. Not necessarily. The next number one thing is paid time and vacation. That's the next most expensive benefit to offer. Now, just because it costs a lot doesn't mean that it's perceived as valuable. And I want you to keep that in mind. Then you've got your medical, 401k, other select benefits, continuing ed, professional development, awards and recognition, team building. Now, if you notice, the last three kind of sound a little corporate America-ish, and that's because they kind of have logged into this and they know that even if it's just a stupid little cupcake with a candle on it for your birthday, it makes a difference. So think about those things as you are working with your employees and time goes on. Next one, cost. So this one came out really bad too. So the question is, why offer benefits in 2024? What makes it so special? Couple of things. Um, First of all, cost and control. Cost. um, the cost is going to be the same whether you buy insurance on the exchange, off the exchange, whatever. It's all Obamacare. If you're going to buy it, you might as well buy it as a corporation take the deduction. If you need insurance, you might as well get on it. If some of your key people need insurance, they might as well be on it. So that's the idea about cost. It's the same no matter where you go. So you might as well have it under your control, which is the second part, which means you get to choose a plan, you choose the effective dates, you choose who comes on and who goes off, and when they come on and go off. You can't do that with individual coverage anymore. Um, Next one. Now, the other thing that has happened that's really cool is under this making insurance available and selectively affordable, what you'll see is that there used to be all kind of determinants of what's unaffordable, blah, blah, blah. AKA, how do I meet my participation guidelines with my group? I've got 10 employees and I've got two that want coverage, and I'm one of them, and I'm the owner. How do I do that? Simple. Simpler than you think, anyway. Um, if you look at the old determinant of what's unaffordable coverage, remember, if you're an employer group and you have over 50 employees and you offer coverage that is deemed to be unaffordable, you still are subject to that fine in theory. I don't know of anybody that have, but whatever. Uh, Under small group regs, which means 50 and under employees, you don't have to follow that rule because you're exempt from it. So, what you can do, in theory, is make the coverage cost to the point of where it exceeds the employee's 10% of salary. But now the government has expanded that coverage to be the hypothetical coverage cost of your family, whether you cover them or not. So it could be very well be that the person that you're looking to provide coverage for maybe already has coverage somewhere else. Maybe they don't want the coverage, or maybe they just don't want to pay for it. And if they don't, they can deem it unaffordable, and that is a valid waiver. And guess what? From a HIPAA standpoint, you're not supposed to really even be asking these questions, but that's another story altogether. Um, Going on to who should really be on the major medical portion of the plan: owners, officers, and employees who can't find anything else. That's the idea of offering benefits. Now, we're going to offer more benefits, and we'll talk about that. But let's go to a participation example, which is, for instance, ABC Software Company. They got 12 employees. Six are covered under Obamacare, three are covered under their parents, two are covered under their spouses, and one employee, the owner of the company, wants coverage. Does he qualify? Yep. Why? Because he meets all the participation guidelines. Yeah, it's not really 75% all the employees there, but that's not the definition. The definition is eligible employees. Your Obamacare people get to waive. People covered under spouses get to waive. And So there you go. Life is good. Um, Corporate benefits versus small benefit offerings. Now, here's the interesting thing. You ask the people, what is it they really, really want that they can get from big companies that they can't get from little companies? They're not saying, oh, I can't get medical insurance. No, I want disability. I want medical leave. I want maternity coverage. I want retirement plans. That's what they're talking about. Can we do that? Well, kind of. Let's go to the next one. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to offer benefits because we're using it as a recruitment tool, which means that we're using it to reduce turnover, improve employee productivity, and there's some things you want to buy too for yourself. So that's the idea. Um, and also, the number one concern that everybody talks about when they talk about benefits is they're afraid that this thing is going to blow up on them and they are just going to wind up with everybody on their plan and it's going to cost them a fortune and they're going to go bankrupt. I will tell you from personal experience, the exact opposite happens. We start out, we have a group, we got 10 people, six sign up, eight sign up, whatever. Over time, we get down to two or three. It happens every time. Why? Attrition. People come, people go. Unless the insurance is something they really need, they're not interested. And we don't want to really particularly make them interested in it because most of the time people have it elsewhere. Now, let's talk about benefit steerage. which is a very simple concept, and that is you just offer the benefits you want people to be in. But the other thing is that you want people to think that you've got really great benefits and that you're doing a lot for them. So we want to steer people into selecting certain benefits. Now, if you look at slide 19 of the 25, you will see benefit steerage in action. And what this really means is imagine you're an employee and you're going to look up for, you're going to go to ABC company and you're going to pick a job. Do you do the traditional one where they say, well, we don't really offer anything, but we'll pay for half of your employee health care cost? Or do you say, well, look, we pay for everything on here, your life, your vision, disability, dental. We pay for a teledoc that will cover anything from mental health counseling to financial planning to your regular doctor's visits. They will help you schedule follow-ups with anybody. There's some free services that you can get to. And if you do need health coverage, we do have that available too. That's 10% of your salary because it's really expensive for us to provide it. Now, which one would you do? All the other stuff is free, or you get this one and these hypothetical voluntary options that are offered that nobody ever really takes. So you just buy it for them. Why? Because you want to look like you're really offering benefits, and you are, because they can't buy these elsewhere. Next one, professional development. Any type of business you're in, there are always people that could learn how to do their job better. If you can find a couple of programs out there, if you're in the hospitality business, maybe some sort of, if somebody's a chef, maybe some sort of cooking course or something like that. If somebody's in accounting or finance, maybe some sort of further development or designation program, any of these types of things. Hey, if you're interested, we'd be happy to foot it. It will make your employees feel like they're part of the program. But it also brings out that X factor, which is your improved employee productivity and all these other things. Next one, recognition and awards. Again, these are rewards for just what the heck, because you're an employee. We like you. We think you're good. We think you contribute to the company. And when you really look at it, you can't do much without your employees. So it is a good thing to have. So all these things, you're getting this information when you hire your people. You're getting this information on the holidays. So when the holidays are, when their birth date is because you have it on file, and when you hired them. So take advantage of it. Next one. So what does it mean? Well, basically, it means that you can set up a group plan. You do whatever benefits you want to do. Always make a certain amount of your benefits 100% employer paid. That's how you show your employees you care. And it doesn't have to break the bank. And I challenge you that if you were to sit there and talk to somebody and say, if we're going to do dental, a teledoc, and all these things, what per month do you think it would cost us? I guarantee you they're going to think it's $300-400 a month, but they don't have to. Anyway, I guess that is, let's see, that's slide 22. Let's slide 23 is to set up voluntary benefits, which you can do. And these are options I always kind of leave up to you as an employer. But your Colonial and your Aflac people do have things that some people will want to get. You just have to be very careful in that you don't want them selling things that you already have in place. Like if you have disability insurance, you don't want them selling disability insurance. If you have dental insurance, you don't want them selling dental insurance. So, but we're not going to do cancer insurance. We're not going to do critical illness insurance, not yet anyway. And so there are options that may be filled by that need. Next one. So essentially, if you're making a job offering now, when people ask what benefits you offer, if you look down here, you've got your job offering, you have your job description. Here would be your benefits. And all these things are included. And then when people get down to talking about them, when it gets to the point of where people are thinking, hey, um, what do you do for benefits? I need major medical. Well, guess what? We can turn we can turn this around in about a month. So for those people, and this is where I always get calls from small companies, is they've got this big exec they've got to hire. They have to have medical. You know what? Half the time, when it comes down to it, they don't. But it's an interesting conversation. Anyway, so this has been kind of my take on benefits. I think it works better and it's more user friendly and it's easier to implement than most other ones out there. And so that's it. So I guess I can just leave the floor open for any questions.